We're going to be in Joshua chapter 3 this morning. And I have to share a little bit of something that's happening this morning. I'm not sure what it is going on. We're in Joshua and talking about God leading his people. And I've always said that when I feel like God's leading me somewhere, I generally hear the same thing from multiple sources. And so it might be that there's a sermon that I hear, and then the next day a song on the radio pops up, or somebody sends me a text about a daily Bible reading or things like that. And so I try to pay attention when the same theme keeps arriving. And this morning, Glenn just mentioned something about like salt and pepper going on. And it piqued my interest because it's the second time this morning that I've heard this. And the first time was with Michael Manley. And he said, have you seen that Push It commercial? The Geico, push it, and the guy's pushing the lawnmower. And he says, I'm pushing the lawnmower. And he starts singing this old rap from 20 years ago with salt and pepper. And you should just ask Michael Manley to sing that old school rap. It'll really make your day. Maybe God's not telling me something. It's just coincidence. We're going to be in Joshua chapter 3. Last week we looked at the story of two Israelite men who go into the promised land. They're spies, and they find this lady Rahab who has heard that the Israelites are coming. She's heard what God is doing, and she makes this great confession saying that your God is God above, and he's God on the earth below. And so I think what these Israelites find when they go into the promised land, well, sure, they find a little bit of military strategy, maybe. They find that the people are afraid. But I think that probably the most important thing they find is that God is already there. God's not waiting for the Israelite people to go there and then he comes. God is already there. God goes in front of his people. And that's what the spies find. And then they come back to Joshua chapter 2, verse 23, and they report back. Then the two men returned. They came down from the hills and passed over and came to Joshua, the son of Nun, and they told him all that had happened to them. And they said to Joshua, truly, the Lord has given all the land into our hands, and also all the inhabitants of the land melt away because of us. Chapter 3. Then Joshua arose early in the morning, and they set out from Shittim, and they came to the Jordan, he and all the people of Israel, and lodged there before they passed over. Joshua's excited to go. He gets this report, and the very next morning, he wakes up, the crack of dawn, bags packed, ready to go. And so you can see the excitement as the Israelites are now on this side of the Jordan River. They've been there, they're looking over, they can see their promised land. And they're excited to do this. Now this is something that for them has been a part of their entire lives. Because some 500 years previously, God promised to Abraham that he would give him a land flowing of milk and honey. And that he would bless his descendants and they would become a great nation. And since that time, these people have had this as part of their family history. Knowing that they are God's people and God's going to lead them into this promised land. And here they are, and they're looking at it. Finally, 500 years of waiting, 500 years of God will lead us there someday. And now, these are the ones that will get to go there. When we talk about heaven coming, or when we talk about Jesus coming and then us being able to go to heaven, we say, we don't know when that will be, when the day will come, when the trumpets will sound. It might be tomorrow, it might be 100 years from now. Lots of people have said that throughout history, and they haven't been the ones. It'll be amazing to be the ones that actually get to see there, to be there and see that happen. And it might be us, I don't know. But these are those people that are seeing the promised land. And now they don't know how it's all going to happen. They know the what and they know the where. They know where they're supposed to go across the river. They can see it. They see their destination. They've heard about Jericho. They know that they're supposed to take the land, but they don't know how. They only know that their responsibility is to follow God. However and wherever He goes, their responsibility is to follow God. And so they stand at this Jordan River, ready to go. Their identity is solid. Their identity is not changing. They are God's people. They are the Israelites. They're being led by Joshua. None of that changes. Their identity is the same. But now, their identity as the people of God is going to start leading them, is going to start directing them. And that, I don't know, it might be a little bit confusing what I'm trying to say here. It's one thing to say, I'm a follower of God. It's another thing to actually act upon that. And so that's what the Israelites are about to do. They are Israelites. And so it's one thing for them to say, I'm an Israelite. But it's another thing to live that way. And so they are about to start living the Israelite life, following God directly. Chapter 3, verse 2. At the end of 3 days, the officers went through the camp and commanded the people, as soon as you see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God being carried by the Levitical priests, then you shall set out from your place and follow it. And there shall be a distance between you and it, about 2,000 cubits, which would be about half a mile. So they're about to follow half a mile behind. Do not come near it, in order that you may know the way you shall go, for you have not passed this way before. So they tell the people, get ready to follow the ark. Who's the one leading them? It's not the army. The army's not going first. You know, if I was going into enemy territory, knowing that there's fortified walls, people that we're supposed to destroy, that they're probably not just going to, oh, you want to destroy us? Okay, great. Go ahead. We'll just open the gates and follow you. I would probably want the army going first. That's not who goes first. It's not some scouts that would give warning. Oh, there's an enemy approaching. Get out your shields and armor. Nope. It's not the scouts. It's not Joshua the general on a mighty white steed leading the way. It's a box being carried by a few men, and they're way out in the distance. Now maybe this is they'll get attacked first and then we can see it and run away method. It's a little box going about the size of this podium right here. But the significance of this is huge, because the Ark of the Covenant was God's seat. See, a long time before, when God had given them commands to the 10 Commandments, how to follow Him, He also told them how to build this ark. So it's about 3 feet long, 2 feet wide, 2 feet tall. On top, it had 2 angels with their wings spread over, and the Ark of the Covenant was placed in their little portable temple that they had, in a special room called the Holy of Holies. And this ark was viewed as God's seat, the seat of mercy. This is where God would sit, would live, would dwell with the people. And so what we find is this box that's leading the way is a symbol that God is going first. And so remember, this, the spies, they go into the land and they already find Rahab and people wanting to be faithful. God is going first. And now we have this in a physical representation. The ark is leading the way about half a mile away, just far enough to where we could see it, but it's out in front, obviously out in front. God is leading His people. He is going before the people. God instructs them. He says, follow behind. Keep your distance. And so what's kind of neat about this is that God is a personal God. I mean, we can talk to God. That's what prayer is, us having a conversation with God. He's personal, He is real, He is near us, but at the same time, we can't be fickle about this. God is a holy God, and God is a powerful God. So God will lead, but we also have to be careful that we keep our distance. Because the priests that were carrying this Ark of the Covenant, they had to do special things. It wasn't just anybody that could carry or even touch the Ark. Later on, there's a story about a guy that the Ark started to tumble, and he reaches up to steady it, and he dies there on the spot because he wasn't supposed to touch it. God is a great and powerful God. And I think that this kind of helps us to understand that while God is personable, He is holy. You know, He tells Moses, take off your sandals because where you're standing is holy ground. He tells us as His followers, be holy because I'm holy. So the ark is leading the way. God is greater, we are lesser, and we must follow behind. So what does it look like to follow behind somebody, to walk behind them? You know, in school, they give you these little things where you're teaching, what does it mean to be in, out, beside? And we learn that as little children, but I think sometimes when it comes to God, we forget those things. Following beside somebody. Has anybody ever seen the bumper stickers, God is my co-pilot? Have you seen those? Or maybe, you know, they post them on Facebook. God is my co-pilot. And the idea I understand that they're going for is that God is with me, He's here, He's directing me, you know, He's the one with the map and telling me where to go. But the thing about co-pilots is, I ignore them personally. Anybody else with me? It's like, well, I think we need to go that way. No, we're going this way. And sometimes we treat God the same way. If we treat ourselves as equals with God, then, you know, maybe sometimes we follow Him. Oh, that's a good idea. Okay, let's go that way. But then it leaves room for, maybe if I disagree with God, you know, maybe I'm not ready to pull over and take a potty break over here. I'm gonna push on to the next one. You're just gonna have to hold it, God. It leaves room for us to take the charge and lead the way. But God's there in case I need Him, kind of thing. That's not what following God means. And so then the other way is walking in front of God. You know, God's back there, and he in case I need Him, I can run and hide, but really I'm the one making the decisions. You know, how do we know if we're the one making decisions? You know, if we have a decision to make, do we first come to God and lay it down at His feet and then look for the ways we should go? Or is it vice versa? You know, talk about, okay, what are the pros and cons? I'm going to make up my own list here. I've got these good lists. Okay, now, side note, God, what do you think I should do? It's us taking the charge. And then we kind of look back. Is this good? We going all right? I had the unfortunate time of watching a good example of this happen. I had gone to the hospital to visit a family. They were having I think it was their fourth child. And so we were all waiting there. Their family was downstairs, and they had two older kids that were 6, 5, around that age. And so we're playing. The kids are getting antsy. They're running around. And in the hospital, they had these giant concrete pillars. And so I'm sitting down, and the kids are running back and forth, and this kid is doing this. Hi, Eric! And you know what happened. He was looking back and not paying attention, and it was one of those moments, oh! And that's all I could do. Like, time slows down, but you can't move any faster. And this kid just had this big smile on his face right as he smashed into that concrete pillar and fell down. He has this look of shock on his face, and what just happened? And, blood-curdling cry in the hospital where, everyone's like, shh, be quiet. But you're trying not to laugh at the same time because you have this mental image just... It doesn't work well if you're trying to go one way but look back. It doesn't. And if we try to walk in front of God, that's essentially what we're trying to do, is us lead the way and then occasionally check in with God. If we live our lives that way, we're going to smash into a concrete pillar spiritually with our lives because we're not always going to know the right way that we should go. Instead, we should be people that are following, that are walking behind God, so that when He makes a change in direction, we can see that change, and then we can make the same change. So God is out in front of the Israelites. He's leading them, symbolized by the Ark of the Covenant. Verse 5. Then Joshua said to the people, "Consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you." And Joshua said to the priests, "Take up the Ark of the Covenant and pass on before the people." So they took up the Ark of the Covenant and went before the people. And then the Lord said to Joshua, "Today I will begin to exalt you in the sight of all Israel, that they may know, as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. And as for you, command the priests who bear the Ark of the Covenant, when you come to the brink of the waters of the Jordan, you shall stand still in the Jordan." We're getting into the how now. Imagine yourself as one of the priests. Joshua is speaking. "We're going into the promised land. Yes! God's leading the way. Yes! The priests are going to carry the ark. Yes! And then they're going to walk into the water." Come again? Because we're going to find out in just a minute that the river was flooding at this time of year. And so now you are the person, and you're going to walk across that river. What? We're learning the how. How is this all going to happen? And one of the common things that we find in Joshua is that sometimes God asks you to do things that don't make rational sense. And now here these priests are. They're being the ones, not all of Israel, just like a few of them. You're going to walk into that river. Let's keep reading. Verse 9. And Joshua said to the people of Israel, "Come here and listen to the words of the Lord your God." And Joshua said, "Here is how you shall know that the living God is among you, and that He will without fail drive out from before you the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Hivites, the Perizzites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, and the Jebusites. Behold, the ark of the covenant of the Lord of all the earth is passing over before you into the Jordan. Now therefore take 12 men from the tribes of Israel, from each tribe a man. And when the soles of the feet of the priests bearing the ark of the Lord of all the earth shall rest in the waters of the Lord, the waters of the Jordan shall be cut off from flowing, and the waters coming down from above shall stand in one heap." So when the people set out from their tents to pass over the Jordan, the priests bearing the ark of the covenant before the people, and as soon as those bearing the ark had come as far as the Jordan, and the feet of the priests bearing the water were dipped in the brink of the water, now the Jordan overflows all its banks throughout the time of harvest. The waters coming down from above stood and rose up in a heap very far away at Adam, the city that is beside Zarethan. And those flowing down toward the sea of the Arabah, the salt sea, were completely cut off, and the people passed over opposite Jericho. Now the priests bearing the ark of the covenant of the Lord stood firmly on dry ground in the midst of the Jordan, and all Israel passed over on dry ground until all the nation finished passing over the Jordan. Talk about taking a step of faith. A literal, physical step. Going from dry land into the water. Being the first one to do that. You know, we have this saying, take a leap of faith. Sometimes taking a leap of faith is only taking a step. And so what we find is that God will go before us. He goes before his people. He prepares the way for his people. He has it planned out. And then it becomes our move. Will we follow? Will we take that one step? Or will we stay on the opposite side of the Jordan River? You know, looking into the promised land. That looks like a very good land. I mean, it's got water and we can grow crops, but there's big scary people over there. It's up to us to take the next step. I was talking with Chuck Hawes yesterday or a couple days ago, talking about those moments when you're talking about making complete life changes. Big changes. Drastically changing the way we live our lives and the things that we're involved in, the things that we do. And it's hard to change our life. I mean, we are good about creating ruts and then staying in those ruts because we get comfortable in them. We like the routine. But to completely set aside things that we don't need to be involved in and go a new direction is difficult. And to make that big of a change, sometimes it's easier just to pick one small thing and do that one small thing. Once you got that one down, then you pick the next small step. And through a series of several small steps, the distance gets covered. And so we have the priests at the bank of the river. It's overflowing. Some would say a mile across at this time of year. So this isn't like a little creek or a crick, as some people might say. This is a large river, and they put their feet down, and immediately the waters stop flowing. Now, when I taught the high schoolers a couple weeks ago, we looked at what it would have been like for the Israelites to cross both the Red Sea or the Jordan River. We're talking a massive amount of people, of cows and cattle and carts, nation, millions. This place where it says the water stopped, Adam up the river, was 18 miles away. And so we're talking at least 18 miles of dry land. Well, at least of no river flowing. And so you cannot see where the water has stopped. All of a sudden, there's a river and it stops flowing, and you see the water leave and go, and nothing else is coming. And now it's your turn to walk across. Usually you just saw the priests take this step, and then amazing things happened, and now it's your turn. At first you were supposed to follow half a mile away. That's comfortable. It's a long ways away. We can see the miracles happening over there. But now you have to cross over into the promised land. And you're walking through, and you have to pass by the priests that are holding this thing, and they're stopped in the middle of the river. And you're walking by, taking a step of faith. I hope that all of us have a crossing the Jordan moment in our life. Because these moments are the ones that we go from simply being a Christian in name, or maybe in church attendance, and we go to being a Christian that is living, actively following God. That when we see people hurting, we don't just drive by, we help them. When we see people in need, we lend a hand. Actively living faith. That's when being a Christian becomes our identity, who we are, to the core, not just something on the outside. Because there are people that bear a name, but that doesn't have any impact on who they are. I talked to a guy one time about coming to church, and he said, "Oh, I'm a Catholic." I said, "Okay, great. Where do you go to church at?" And he goes, "I don't know." For him, it was not something that he lived, that he actively did. It was something that he was a part of, but not who he was. And God doesn't call us to be Christians in name only. He calls us to take those steps of faith. In picking the colleges that our young people go to, is the first question that we're asking, what does God want us to do with the rest of our lives? In raising our family, in being our neighbors, in our jobs, the first question's got to be asked, what is God wanting me to do? And then when maybe we get those three little things, a song and a text or a sermon, and then we step out and we take that one small step. A step of faith. And so the story that I want us, or the message I want us to get from crossing the river is that God will go before us if we choose to follow. He will prepare the way. And when it comes time to follow, we've got to take just a step. That's where the journey begins. Let's pray. Father God, I thank you for this time that you've blessed us with to talk about the Israelites crossing the Jordan River. God, I pray that you give each one of us one of these moments in our lives, and that when we have crossed that Jordan, then there'll be another moment coming our way. And that you'll keep our eyes open so that we can see where you are leading us. That we will allow you to go before us, and that we will follow faithfully. For you, God, you truly are a holy, mighty, and powerful God. And God, we adore you and we praise your name. We thank you for leading us. And God, I ask you to lead our congregation, to lead each one of us here. Pray all of this in Jesus' name. And together we say, amen. If you have something that you want to pray about, if you want to take that first small step of being baptized, let's do it today. If you have any other need that you want to present to the congregation, place membership here, now's the time to do that. Let's stand together and let's sing.